Hey, welcome. I'm Jennifer Randall Young, and if you found this show, chances are you've been Googling things at 2 a.m. that you can't say out loud to anyone else. This is The Life with an Alcoholic, a show for the woman who's been holding everything together while somebody she loves is falling apart. We don't talk about the alcoholic here, we talk about you. I'm going to give you real tools, honest conversations, and frameworks that you can actually use, whether you're staying, leaving, or just trying to remember who you were before all of this. Let's get into today's episode.
I'm super excited today to have Damian and Alisha here. So they're going to introduce themselves and share their story with you guys. So I will actually let them take it away and introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of dive in and go from there. So go ahead, guys.
Awesome. Go ahead.
No, you go first.
Oh, sure. My name is Damian Bloss. So my name is Damian Bloss, and I was in active addiction for 20 years. On this road to recovery now. I've been sober for 6 years.
Yep. And I'm Alisha. I am Damian's wife. We have been together for little over 16 years now. So the bulk of our marriage and our relationship was him in his active addiction for at least those first 10 years. So I, trying to still, even after I'm also sober, I have been sober for 6 years. I made that decision with him when he went to rehab. So for the last 6 years, we have been trying to go through this sober recovery journey together and learning each other all over again. And I think we're still doing it even after 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it's a whole new world, right? Like it's a whole new process.
It absolutely is. It's we've learned so much about ourselves and so much about each other, more so than we did in those first 10 years, just in the last couple of years. Yeah.
So, I know from my perspective, when I was living with my husband, you chose to stay, and I chose to stay also. That's not always the case. Did you ever think, everyone says stay or leave, which is the worst thing you could absolutely say to somebody in that position, I feel like. Was that ever an option for you?
Yes, it was. Especially towards the last year or two, I had basically almost been so numb to everything that was going on around me. I was, as much as he was, in his active addiction, the zombie version of that, I was also in zombie mode where I was just going through day to day, and, I couldn't stand coming home, but I didn't want to not be home because I didn't know what he was going to be like. I had to worry about my kids. Were the kids going to be okay? It wasn't that I didn't want to leave because I knew deep down that this wasn't him.
Yeah.
That I knew that the addiction had taken control of him and that my husband was in there somewhere. And I was determined at some point to try to figure it out with him. And then those last 2 years, I built the wall up. And it was actually the day that he told me he was going to rehab was my final straw. So, how everybody has their what is it called?
Rock bottom.
Thank you, rock bottom. Everybody has their own version of the rock bottom. And even the spouses or the partners, we have our own version, and it just so happened to be the exact same day, and neither one of us knew that that's how it was. So the day he was going to rehab was the day I was like, you know what, I'm done. And I came home and I was ready to pack his bags and kick him out, and I couldn't take it anymore. And as I'm yelling at him, which, mind you, in 16 years we've only gotten in maybe 3 big arguments, actual screaming matches, with mostly me. But I was screaming at him and telling him I was done. And he just looked at me and he said, I already called Ashley Treatment Center and I'm going to be going there in a couple of days. And it just, all of those emotions came flooding back.
Yeah. What was that like for you, the treatment center? Like I have like a love-hate relationship with those because my husband went to those, like went 3 times, and I feel
Mm,
like the lack of knowledge on our part for for them
Yeah.
was, it was just, is so mishandled. Like
mm,
I I could have supported him in those situations, in those treatment centers, so much better, if they had involved me a little bit more. Just because I felt like at that point my life was so intertwined in his. Like my life, my entire job was like monitoring him, taking
Yeah.
care of him, watching him.
Well, it's like a little child. It's like another child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when
Yeah.
you send him off to then I'm like, well, now I literally, my jobs and my identity is gone. Now what am I supposed to do? And I'm kind of left with like, you're going to send back this human that's supposedly fixed, but what about me?
mm.
Yep.
I'm really glad you brought that up
Mm-hmm.
because this was my second stint in a rehab. My first one was back in early 2004, 2005. It was court ordered for me to go to that rehab, and I just went through the motions because I just need to stay out of jail. It was my
Yeah.
second DUI within 6 months, and my attorney was like, "You got to go to rehab." So I went to this little dump. It literally was like a little cot the
Yeah.
backwoods by itself, and I don't think even if I would have focused my hardest, could I have learned much at that place. So again, I went through the motions and everything. My worst fear was going to another rehab because I knew at that point that is when I need to stop. Um, and when I enrolled in this place here, it's called Ashley Treatment Center. It's local
Mm.
to me here in Maryland, and that facility was amazing.
Yeah.
They cared. You could feel that they genuinely cared, and my favorite part about it was that they did include the families. They had a specific weekend where the families would come the whole weekend, not stay the night, but come the whole weekend. They come in on Friday and they go through these classes and basically, and she'll be able to tell you better, but it basically tells the spouses or the family members what that person in addiction is going through, what they
Hmm.
went through, and how you can assist them without treading that fine line with enabling them, which was really, really awesome. And I've never heard of a place doing that. I'm sure they do, but I've never heard of it. And I thought
Yeah.
that was really awesome. And she was willing to come to that. And, you know, it did wonders. It made, I feel like it made you take a step back and say, wow, I had no
Mm-hmm.
idea like that's what was going on.
It absolutely did. It was so yeah, it was a family weekend. It was 3 full days and they were exhausting days, but they were so worth it that not only did we get to have, we also got to sit, I got to sit with his counselor. We got to sit with a separate counselor for the both of us. I got to sit with his personal counselor.
Yeah.
I got to sit by myself with a bunch of other family members that were also in the same position, and they not only were we able to talk and I was able to understand him a little bit more, but they taught us what addiction really was. And even before all of this, I was always a firm believer that addiction and mental health go hand in hand. And in my opinion, while you might choose to start drinking or choose to start, doing drugs or choose to start taking the pills or whatever, there's something in our brains, that the chemical imbalance, that if you already have a mental illness, picking those things up is going to be completely different for him as it would be for someone else. And that is what they taught us. And I think because they taught us that, even though it was something that I had already been thinking about prior, but because they physically were teaching the families this, it made it so much easier for me to understand a little bit more, not only him, but even we've had other friends that, you know, are in recovery, or people that we've met along the way, or people that are in current addiction, that it helps me to understand them a little bit more. And it really helps me to understand my own mental illnesses a little bit more, and not just the addiction side. So the fact that Ashley had this weekend, and I would have taken the kids were allowed to come, but it was beginning of COVID, so they couldn't come with us. So, but I think, in all honesty, because our kids were so young, it really hadn't affected them as much as it could have. And plus I tried to hide a lot from them. But I think it truly, truly did help both of us together and separately. It was the best thing that this facility could have ever started.
Yeah, that's very unusual. Like I've heard a few of them like that, but that is really amazing, because I think that's what a lot of facilities are missing, to be honest, to have that connection, because without that connection, it's really hard for them to stay sober when they come home.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going right back into that environment. You know, they always say change your people, places, and things. And sometimes that can be difficult when, you know, you have to go back to where you were. So there's so many things that you have to change within yourself in order to adhere to those principles when you come back. It's very difficult, and it can be.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, I think it was probably one of the best things that had ever happened to us. I really do. And we still use a lot of those tools today to get through our days. And not a lot of places and not a lot of people care to hear about our side, the spouse's side, the partner side, the family side, the kids, the parents, the siblings. It's rehab facilities are in, albeit, yes, they are great, but even like AA meetings and NA meetings, and even I personally have never been to an Al-Anon meeting, but I've met several people that have. Even to me, Al-Anon meetings, it's always about the person in addiction. It's always about the person that is either going through it right now or the person that is in recovery. It is never about us. And being able to do this and being able to have that support from Ashley, it means the world to me, because like they have family weekends still every year, and we're all invited to go. It's not just for the addict, and it makes me feel like I did something right. You know, you know what I mean? Like it makes me feel like somebody's actually looking at me. Somebody's actually paying attention to me, and it's not all about Damian right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you did something together.
Yeah.
Because you were in it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like
it took a couple years for me to realize that. But yeah.
Yeah. Like that's the first time somebody acknowledged that you were actually in it together.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That's amazing. That is actually really amazing. Because I mean, for years, and I don't know which path you went down. I was like the informational junkie kind of path. Like I was that person who was like, I'm a fixer. And so I'm like, there's got to be a reason he's drinking. So I would go down the rabbit hole, like the Google informational, like, okay, what is the reason? There's some sort of like brain something, there's something wrong with him. This is reason number bazillion this is happening, and print off something from Google, then take it to the doctor. And this is like, there's so many doctor appointments that I had set up that I was like, nope, this is definitely why it's triggering this. And at the end of the day, none of that was actually what was really happening, like obviously, but that's just what goes into your brain because you're just like, I can fix it. Like,
Yep.
I'm gonna fix it.
I'm definitely the fixer. I am definitely the fixer out of the two of us. My therapist has said that I am a very big, like a huge empath. So anyone that I'm specifically very close to, such as him, whatever he's going through, I feel it more than I would if it was just somebody passing by or just like an acquaintance or a friend. So everything that he was going through, I was trying to take it on to myself because also in my mind, it was my fault. I was the reason he was an alcoholic. I was the reason that he, couldn't stop drinking. I was the reason that he would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and start and pass out at 10 o'clock at night. Everything was my fault. And because I kept thinking it was my fault, I wanted to fix it more. And it truly wasn't until that last year that something just hit. And I'm like, I know I can't fix this. So I have one of two ways. I'm either a fixer or I'm going to block it all out and pretend like it doesn't exist. And I think that was actually more damaging to my own mental health, blocking it out, than it was for me to try to fix everything.
Did you just put up boundaries? Like, how did that go for you? Did you just decide, like, you just went, I'm gonna block it out, or boundaries, or you just went?
Yeah, it was weird. It was just one day I woke up and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And the wall went up. I stopped talking to him. We literally became roommates, and he became my fourth child. So like I had to just take care of him as if he was one of the other kids. I had to, I tried to focus all of my energy more on my children than I did on him, but it was very difficult to do. So I became numb to almost everything that was around me. I didn't want to talk to him. I would come home. I didn't know what kind of person he was going to be when I came home. So like I would come home and I would just hide. I would find a random place in the house to just hide, to try to ignore him. And of course he'd follow me around like a little puppy dog. Because he was also at the point where he was so far into it that all he wanted to do was argue because he wanted to feel something. He needed to feel something. And so he was trying to pick fights with me. And I really am not. I don't like to argue. I don't like to fight. I would rather walk away and then come back and we can talk about it later. But he would just keep picking and picking and picking. And then he would get mad at me because I wouldn't argue with him. So then that would start like the whole cycle all over again. And I had to put that wall up or else it was going to break me. It was very, very close to breaking me completely.
Yeah, like that was your boundary. That was it. Like you just couldn't handle it anymore. Yeah.
Yep. Like I was just going to exist in the same world as you, and I will make sure that nothing happens to you and my children and in my house, but I'm just going to exist. That's all I was.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I talk about like on the podcast, my YouTube channel, is I think a lot of the times women, partners, people in this situation is they sometimes confuse boundaries with ultimatums where a lot of times it's you're like that boundary you were like that boundary was my wall. It was about me, right? And so sometimes they confuse the ultimatum of well, if you take one more drink, I'm done. That's an ultimatum. That's you're putting that on him. That's not that's a you. That's his action. And so sometimes like when they don't get to that, that's not a boundary yet. It can, when you're in it, it can be sometimes a confusing place to understand like, okay, what's the difference really between a boundary and the ultimatum?
Yeah, I don't think I did ultimatums. I think I just went right from, I know I was a pretty big enabler, but it was more of a physical enabler because you knew I would be there.
Yeah, I took complete
Oh,
advantage
oh yeah, you
of
did.
everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because he knew I would
Oh,
be
I
there to
was.
do whatever it was that, I'd be there to make sure the bills were paid. I'd be there to make sure that
Hmm.
the kids were taken care of. If we were going anywhere, I would drive. If he was home and he was supposed to pick the kids up, he knew that if all he had to do is just say, "Hey, I can't pick the kids up," he knew I would do it. And that was one of the things that I did learn at the family weekend, is that that was enabling. And I didn't think of it at the time, because I always thought enabling would be like, "Oh, here's $20, or here, I'll
Hmm.
go buy the alcohol for you." No, it
Hmm.
was literally just me existing, basically.
Picking up my
Yeah.
slack. Yeah.
Yeah, was being the enabler. So
Yeah.
I think I literally went from that to putting that wall up. I don't remember giving
Yeah.
any ultimatums, but I know why and how people would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard not to be an enabler in that position
Yeah.
when you choose to stay. Because I chose to stay too, and I agree. I was an enabler also, but it's so hard not to, right? Like I had boundaries too. Like I would not pour a drink. I would not let him drive.
Hmm.
But then it's like, okay, well, how,
How do you
I
exist?
mean, how do you exist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
how do you live with someone and then not go get groceries and then have them still eat in the house? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It's a very confusing world to live in that a
Hmm.
lot of people just don't understand unless you're actually living in it.
In it. Exactly. Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's a very confusing world while they're in their active addiction. And
Hmm.
then once they're out of the active addiction and they're going through the recovery, then not only again do they have to relearn how the world works, but we have to relearn how the world works. And so, he has to learn what my triggers would be, and I had to learn what his would be. And I still think, even after all these years, there are still times I try not to, but I know I still walk on eggshells, because I don't I don't want something to set him off. And it's whether or not it is a trigger for him or it's not, everybody's got different ones that just pop up out of nowhere. So like where I still find myself, holding things back because I don't want to upset him, because is this going to be the day? Is this going to be the thing that sets him over? But yet, he's also had to learn mine as well. And one of my favorite ones is the opening of a soda can. Because when he was in his active addiction, he'd be in the kitchen and he would try to hide. He'd hide the can underneath his shirt and try to hide that he was
Oh,
opening it. And for the first couple of months after he came home, I finally had to tell him, like, you can't do that anymore. Because just you have to come in here. And I didn't want to, I felt like that was controlling. I didn't want to be controlling. But because we were at that point, I knew I could have that conversation with him and say, look, the sound of the can opening instantly takes me back and I want to throw a brick at you.
hmm.
So can you not open it in the other room? If you're going to drink a soda, can you bring it in here? So, and he did. For the longest time, he would do that. And now it's fine. But, and it could be, in a couple of months or a year, it could be something completely different. Sometimes he had to throw away his cups that he would drive around with, that were his cups. So you don't drink out of his cups. But he had to throw all of those out, because it wasn't just for him, it was for me too. Because if I saw those cups, I instantly would go back to that time, and he would instantly go back to that time.
Yeah, muscle memory.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important too to bring that up, because communication communication is always key in a relationship, but I feel like it's even more key, especially if you've been through something like this together. And I think being able to being on this side, respecting those triggers on her end, and then not knowing whether it is a trigger or not, being able to openly communicate without anybody getting defensive too, I think is very, very important, because I know I would have gotten defensive, because I had gotten defensive in the past when I was drinking, because I was always, it's always an attack on you. And that was the thing too, is the way you communicate. They taught her in that wellness weekend, and they taught us as well, as, you know, in recovery, that the tone that you use has to be not coddling, but it has to be gentle. And you start learning that once you start figuring out what your character defects are, and you start actively working on those, you start to get to that point where you know how to gently communicate. And I think it's important, especially when you've been through something so horrible like that, you know, where you're tearing each other down constantly, or at least in my defense, in my experience, I was tearing her down more than, you know, she was me. But, you know, that open communication is huge. Trying to find out what each other's boundaries are now. So I thought that was very, very important. Very important.
Yeah, it's very interesting hearing your side on the other side of it, like coming back, like coming home and like reintegrating and like relearning each other all over again.
Yeah, there were so many experiences that I had to do over again, pretty much. You know, day-to-day things, and basically almost like being reborn in a way, because you're in a world that you've never been a part of. And then you know, I come back home from rehab in the middle of COVID. It was March, it was St. Patrick's Day of 2020, which was, so it was right in the middle of COVID. So you're coming back into this whole new world. Take COVID out, you're coming back into this whole new world that you've never been a part of. Add COVID on top of it, things are shutting down. You just learn for 28 days how to not isolate. Now you got to isolate. So it's like, you know, it was kind of, it was very weird to do. And, but I think that part also kind of helped me in a way. And it in a weird roundabout way, because
we were stuck with each other too. Literally, yeah, so we were stuck with each other.
Yeah, we had to learn right away.
Yeah.
Off of that. And, you know, so getting thrown right back into it like that, very difficult, but it was worth it. 100% worth it. The way it turned out, everything, the way it played out, couldn't have been more perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Those first couple of months, or how long did COVID, really, we were shut down for about a year, I guess. And so I went back to work in that summer. My company opened back up I worked in retail at the time. So my company opened back up. He's been home since then, working from home. And so those first couple of months that, you know, we had nothing else to do but to try to talk to each other and try to work through it. And, you know, we were stuck in the same room, because it's not like we had a dedicated office space or anything. We were literally, when I say stuck together, I mean stuck together for hours upon hours with each other. And then I went back to work, and I know both of us were so nervous about it, because, you know, with me not being here all day, he could have done whatever he wanted to on his lunch break or whatever. You know, we live 5 minutes from a liquor store. He could have absolutely gone to do that. But so he had to trust himself. I had to trust him. And, you know, it's that communication thing. You know, if he was struggling with something that day, he knew that he could instantly text me. And I had amazing coworkers at the time that knew everything that was going on, which was totally different than what I'm used to, because I never told anybody. I hid literally everything from everyone. So the fact that I was open about it so much, then he was becoming more open about it. That's all the things that, like you said, couldn't have been more perfect for us, at least,
Yeah.
of how it played out. And even to this day, and, anytime I tell anybody, and I, it's going to sound weird, I feel guilty sometimes for staying, but I feel guilty because I know that there are other people out there that couldn't do it, that couldn't stay. And, I always say, if you're in danger, if your family is in danger, your mental health, your children, whatever the case may be, comes before your marriage, comes before your significant other. You have to take care of yourself first. It just so happened that the way that our story worked, it worked for us. And so for anyone ever listening to me, I always make sure I point that out, because, what works for us won't work for everybody, but it's, it does show that there is another side of the addiction and during the recovery.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I love that you pointed that out, because I agree. Like, there's no right path.
Right.
I'm a big believer of that, for sure. There's no right path. I mean, staying was the right path for me, but it wasn't a safety issue. Same with
Right.
you, right? And so yeah, but and that's not the norm usually. So
No,
you
no,
never
it's
know.
not. And yeah, and so when we go to rehab facilities, and we always go with the intention of just him talking, and I just go because I'm there for support or whatever. And the last couple of times, the patients have asked me to talk, because people are starting to want to hear our side of things, because they also want to know what it's going to be like when they get home. And I have to tell them the same thing. Like, look, your spouse, your partner, whoever it is that you go home to, might not be as understanding. There could be some severe damage that your addiction has caused, and you have to be okay with that. You have to accept the fact that, just you getting sober is not going to fix everything, because the damage, just as much as you've been in your active addiction, we have to heal from all the stuff. And you can't expect us to wake up the next day and be like, oh, cool, he's sober now, that means everything's great and hunky-dory. It's not how it works. So it's been it's been a really interesting ride with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the golden nugget, is like everyone always thinks like, okay, now he's sober, everything is fixed. And that is not the actual answer, because we
Mm-mm.
still have a lot of healing to do also.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because we are so tied up in all of that that we can't see clearly either.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And
yeah.
in on the addiction side too, we also think like that. We also
Mm-hmm.
think that once we get sober, everything magically repairs itself.
I feel like you guys would think that more than
Yeah.
what we do, because
Yeah.
we are more cautious and,
Yeah.
nervous and scared. But I feel like that's something that you guys definitely think more.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you go to meetings and things like that, and you hear these stories about, people, their lives are great now. They don't tell you what typically got them to that great place besides getting sober. So I know for myself, I used to go to these meetings and think, oh, that's all I got to do is just get sober. Everything's going to work out. My relationship's going to get better. My job, my life in general is going to get better. And it never happened. And I would always, I wanted to get sober so many times, but I could never get past what they call the pink cloud. And, that's basically where you've quit drinking, and you have this euphoric feeling to where life is so great. Like you imagine nothing can go wrong. And, I could never get past that because I would always think, okay, I've quit for 3 days. Why hasn't my life gotten so much better? But I never did the work. I never did anything. I just got sober. And, when I go to these rehabs and I do these speaking engagements, I want to let them know, like, you have to do more than just get sober. Getting sober is the number one priority. But right behind that, if not tied for first in that, is working on yourself and fixing your character defects, because getting sober is just going to be that. You have to fix what's it within yourself. Find out what made you turn to addiction, and find out what made you do what you did. And in my experience for myself, it was when I was like 19 years old, 18, 19. A close family member of mine had passed away. He died by suicide. And, the thing is with that is I'm the only one that knew he was even thinking about doing it. And, it built up and built up, and he would always say he was joking and doing all these things. And then that day came and he did it. And now I was left with, man, why didn't I do something? Why didn't I say something? And that guilt starts creeping in, and, it led me down that road for 20 years, and I was escaping that for 20 years.
Yeah.
So until I finally went and got to the root of that problem and was like, it was through rehab, through therapy, trauma therapy, everything that I could do to fix myself.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's nuts.
Mm,
Yeah, you
definitely.
just never know. I mean, you never know. Like there's something there that triggers it. You just have to
Hmm.
do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
accountability is huge too. I had to
Yeah.
learn that right out of rehab. I had to, when she went back to work and I'm here left by myself and I get an hour lunch break and the liquor store's right up the street, I had to improvise and figure out, how can I stay accountable? I don't trust myself right now. How do I stay accountable? And that was basically me saying, I need you, if you're willing, to stalk me. And whether that's with an app on our phones that you can track me, access to everything that I have. I had to do all that because I'm here by myself, and I don't trust myself. So I need help with being able to trust myself, and I need to have you trust me as well,
Yeah.
because
Which
that's
is
not going to happen right away
funny
either.
when you think about it, because remember, you used to be so paranoid that I did track you.
Yes.
So even before like the tracking apps like Life 360 and came out, and even
Mhm.
before we had iPhones, he was always afraid that like when he would pass out or whatever, that I somehow put a tracker either in his car or on his phone to follow him everywhere. And I'm like, I wouldn't have even known how to do that. I am not that smart. It's a brilliant idea, but I am not that smart. Never would have thought about it. But so the minute he was the one that said, "Hey, what if we all download Life 360?" And I was like, "All right, fine. For what?" And then it started, like, he
Yeah.
didn't say it right away, but he eventually was. It came out that it's to hold me accountable,
Hmm.
for him to hold himself accountable. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's an even better, more genius idea.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
half the time I don't even look at it. Our kids stalk us more than we stalk each other.
That is
So,
true. My kids stalk me
yeah,
as well. That
it's
is,
they're
yeah.
always finding us. Anywhere we
I
go,
know.
they find us. I'm constantly getting text messages. If you're at the store, can you get me this? How
Yeah.
do you know I'm there? I
Yeah. I
forget.
see you at
Yeah.
Target. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thanks.
What do you mean you went to Starbucks
Yeah.
without me?
Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
know. Yeah. Can you bring me back? Yeah. No, I cannot.
Exactly. Nope. Sorry. Phone died.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much. Is there anything else you guys want to like nuggets or golden, like anything you want to share, like words of wisdom or anything you guys have going on with you guys that you want to share with the audience that they can find you and, you know, follow you or what you guys have going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, I want to say that if anybody's listening and they are going through, struggling with substance abuse or anything like that, I just want to say that you're not alone. Even if you feel that you are, I can promise you that you are not alone. Help is out there. So if you are, please seek that. Yeah, you can follow us on Facebook at Breaking the Silence. I will provide you our link tree. It has everything else on there as well, and links to my books. I did write 2 books. I wrote one. It's called Breaking the Silence, that came out in 2024. That's like my life from addiction to recovery. And then I have my other book that just came out this year. It's called Recovering Out Loud. It is part my story, part what I've done in recovery and things like that, tricks and tips for others. Just letting them know that recovery is not one size fits all. It's what fits for you, and don't let anybody tell you you're doing it wrong.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, and I'll make sure I put those links in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This
I
is really
truly,
great.
yeah, I love that you're doing this because, like I said before, it's very, very rare anybody wants to hear from us, and really any of the the podcasts that we've done, it's usually someone who was in the addiction, and it's not always the partner. And so I think this is an amazing thing that you're doing. And I truly, truly appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come on and talk.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll talk again sometime soon about
Yeah.
maybe something another topic or something. But yeah, I will keep
I'd
you guys
love
posted
to.
and we'll chat soon. So thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thank
Thank you. I
you.
appreciate it.
Bye guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's a wrap on today's episode, and I hope something in there gave you a little more clarity, or at least reminded you that you are not alone in this. If you're ready to go deeper, I want you to head over to thelifewith.com. That's where you'll find the app and everything you need to start reclaiming your life on your own timeline. And if this show has helped you, share it with somebody who needs it, because the woman who needs this most probably doesn't even know this show exists yet. I'll see you next Tuesday. Take care of yourself first.